Hey guys, welcome to the Pistons Talk Podcast Postgame Show. If you did stay up for the game tonight, man, what a treat that game was. Your Detroit Pistons just got done playing the Los Angeles Lakers. If you are new here with these postgame podcasts, we break down the quarters. I take notes during the game. After I'm done talking with some notes that I've taken during the game, we open up the show to questions, comments, overall thoughts. If you're watching live on YouTube right now, just drop a comment. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to discuss after I'm done kind of going over these key points and my notes. But let's get into it, you guys. So, man, 10:30. I stayed up for this game. I want to show you guys. I think I've drank, I don't know how many cups of coffee. I think I'm on my fifth cup. And it's 1:20 a.m. as I'm recording this podcast on New Year's Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody. But this game was so worth staying up for. Malik Beasley, man, flamethrower, air fryer, 9 points in the first quarter. We had Pistons Jack on yesterday on the podcast, and I was telling you guys, if Malik has a good game, Lakers fans are going to be irritated, and that's exactly what happened. Malik had another great game off the bench for the Detroit Pistons. I felt like every point he made, they were crucial points. We were down a few points in the first quarter, and he hits just timely three-pointer after timely three-pointer, and the Pistons go on a 10-0 run to end that first quarter and take a 2-point lead to end the first quarter. Really liked what I saw out of Cade. Came out aggressive in the first, 8 points, 4 assists. Tech gave the Pistons really good minutes. These are back-to-back games. The Phoenix game, I thought he did a pretty good job. And tonight against the Lakers, it looks like he's starting to find his rhythm. I know a lot of us have been really hard on him. And I think it's just a thing where he had surgery, did not have a full offseason to recuperate after that surgery. So he's starting to get in the game shape. He's starting to get into form, but Pistons do end that first quarter to take a lead 34-32. And if you guys watch that first quarter, like the Lakers probably should have had like a good 7 to 8 point lead, but the Pistons stormed back and, gave themselves an opportunity to win that quarter. Transitioning into the second quarter, really liked what I saw out of the Detroit Pistons, just coming out aggressive. The bench unit, I think, deserves such a round of applause. Ron Holland, Malik Beasley, Jaden Ivey when he was staggered with the bench unit. Paul Reed getting in Anthony Davis's head tonight. Anthony Davis has kind of pushed him later in the third quarter. But, man, really like what I saw to Ron Holland. Had a reverse slam from a double team with Paul Reed and Ron. Ron just plays really, really good basketball. Just watching him, he's so advanced for his age. The ability to get into the painted area, finish with either hand, scrap for rebounds. Ron Holland deserves a lot of credit. Sar Thompson as well. But the Lakers kind of regained a lead at the midway through the second quarter. And going into halftime, they did have a 2-point lead, 64-62. And this is the one thing with your Detroit Pistons that I wonder what team's going to show up. And what I mean by that is the consistent team that we've seen against the Pacers this season, against the Suns this season, going to come out of halftime and just really try to get back into this lead and close this game out. And that team showed up tonight. They come out. Lakers and the Pistons just exchanged buckets for a majority of the fourth quarter, but the Pistons forced the Lakers tonight with 20 plus turnovers. We've come up on this YouTube channel and on this podcast and talked about the Pistons need to take better care of the basketball. Obviously, they had over 10 plus turnovers tonight, but they forced the Lakers, I think, for a majority of 3.5 quarters of just making really bad passes. Their defensive pressure, I thought, was really good throughout the game. And the Pistons do take a 1-point lead heading into the fourth quarter because of Jaden Ivey's buzzer beater. But that third quarter, it just felt like a boxing match. The Lakers were taking punches. The Pistons were taking punches. But going into the fourth quarter, What I really liked was the bench unit again. Jaden Ivey was cooking. Malik Beasley was cooking, and it really gave Cade Cunningham the luxury to chill on the bench. JB was gonna, bring him back into the game, but Cade didn't really have to enter the game until the 6-minute mark because the bench unit was doing their thing. They were scoring, they were keeping the pace, giving a pretty big lead. But towards the end of the fourth quarter, as you guys know, we kind of make decisions in the fourth that make these games more stressful than they need to be. But, Beasley came up clutch. Ivy had some good takes. Tobias had a fadeaway jumper, but he did kind of struggle tonight overall. Cade made some timely shots, had a really nice layup off glass over LeBron. Goes down to the wire, 117, 114. LeBron James has a chance to send the game in the overtime. He misses the three-point shot. And the Pistons win 2 games in a row. They just beat the Phoenix Suns and they just beat the Los Angeles Lakers. The Pistons sweep the Lakers this season. I can't remember the last time the Pistons had actually swept the Lakers in a season series, but that's a 2-game winning streak. You're going into Sacramento later this week and you end the week with Denver. This team is starting to gain confidence. I know a lot of us get on this team in particular with the consistency, but I've seen 2 games, 8 quarters of basketball with this team where they're starting to be more consistent. I thought the end of the first quarter, second quarter, like the bench unit has been doing their thing. THJ had a pretty good game. Cade had I don't want to say Cade had a bad game, but I felt like he could have been better, but he still had 20, 10, and 5. Like, I'm not going to nitpick at that because he still had a double-double. I thought this was a complete team victory. You just kind of look at the box score. A lot of players, I should say, contributed in this win, but really happy with the Pistons going into LA and beating the Lakers. It's always good to beat the Lakers. I know a lot of you guys saying we're smoking the Laker pack in the chat. Absolutely love it. Before we do kind of get into comments, questions, overall thoughts, we do have to hear from our sponsors from the Draft Kings Sportsbook, and we'll be right back after this quick message, you guys. You guys, I have to tell you about today's sponsor for this podcast, DraftKings. It's the most wonderful time of year for getting in on all of the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football, college basketball, the NFL, the NBA, and the NHL almost 24/7. And here's a gift for all new customers. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Pistons Talk. That's code Pistons Talk for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5, you guys. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 1-877-8-HOPNY or text HOPNY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 1-888-78-977 or visit ccp.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of the Boot Hill Casino Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.com/bball. Okay, guys, we are back after that quick commercial break. And I want to give a shout out to the DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring today's podcast. Now, this is the part of the podcast where I make it all about you guys. You have any comments, questions, overall thoughts with tonight's game, maybe something I didn't talk about for the first 10 minutes of the podcast. The floor is yours. I'm going to make this all about you guys for the remainder of this podcast. I want to go to Jay Hart first. And he left a comment saying, I smell a win streak brewing. I think you're right, man. Like Sacramento, if you look at it, They're a very good basketball team. There's a bunch of rumors right now going around. Uh, are they going to keep De'Aaron Fox? Are they going to move on from him? They're a team that I think is vastly underperforming. I feel very confident in saying I feel like this team can compete with anyone when they're locked in. Like the Phoenix game, you saw them lock in. The Lakers game tonight, you saw more consistent battles. Like they didn't really sulk. They didn't really. If the Lakers kind of regained the lead, they kept fighting. They kept competing their ass off all game. I think you can go into Sacramento and definitely, possibly, excuse me, get a 3-game win streak going with this team. I feel like every time they take a West Coast trip, the Pistons, it feels like just to me, maybe I'm crazy. It feels like the Pistons play Western Conference teams really well. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm having some recency bias, but it seems like every time we go, play the Lakers or Golden State or Sacramento or even Denver for that matter, like the games are really close. I feel like a Pistons Sacramento Kings game is going to probably go down to the wire. They do have some, obviously good players in Sabonis and Fox and Keegan Murray, and they just signed DeMar DeRozan, but would not surprise me if they do go on a little heater, go on a little winning streak, try to creep up a couple more uh, seeds in the Eastern Conference right now, because I believe they're the 10 seed last time I checked this morning. So maybe you can try to sneak up to that 9 seed. You never really know. Props again to everyone tonight. Another great team performance. They look poised and confident. They can beat anyone, and we can love this team 100%. That's what I was just kind of talking about. Like when they're locked in, I feel like they can compete with any NBA team out there. It's just with a young team being consistent at times. I don't expect this team to be consistent for all 82 games. You're going to have some off nights, but these past 2 games, they've really locked in. They've really moved the basketball. The team defense, I think, has been really good. Paul Reed has been excellent in the absence of Isaiah Stewart. Really excited to kind of see like what happens when Isaiah Stewart does come back. Like what happens with Paul Reed's minutes? Or is JB going to keep rewarding him? But that's probably another topic for another day. But 100% agree with you. Like when they lock in and they're playing just team basketball, this is a very tough team to beat. Ron is looking like the truth. He's playing fearless now from Mr. Longitude. I have noticed like more confidence out of Ron Holland as of late. You can tell the NBA game, he's kind of getting used to it. Obviously, we're like 30 games into the season. The way he can get to the basket with the little Euro steps, laying it up, going for dunks, fighting for loose balls, getting those offensive rebounds. It's just all the little things that he does that makes you just love watching Ron Holland play basketball for your team. Like he's just such an energy guy, such a glue guy. And the Pistons have 2 of those guys. They have Asar Thompson and Ron Holland on the same basketball team. And they're just such a headache to deal with if you're an offensive player because they're scrappy. They're on you. They try to pick you up full court. And you can even tell like LeBron was getting a little frustrated with both Asar and Ron Holland tonight. But I know you were talking about Ron, but I do agree with you. Really happy that the Pistons selected him with the 5th overall pick because I think Ron is going to be a very, very good player in the NBA and a good player for the Detroit Pistons. Comment from Tay. Cade had some amazing looks tonight. Just wasn't his night, but he still hooped though. Yeah, like if we're sitting up here and saying a 20-point, 10 assist, 5 rebound game is a off night for Cade Cunningham, I think we'll take it. Like the progression and the steps that he's taken this year, I'm just going to keep saying it. He's an all-star. Go vote for Cade Cunningham to be an all-star this season because I think he deserves it. I mean, he's going up against the best of the best every night and showing up. He took the challenge of guarding LeBron tonight. He took the challenge of trying to guard Kevin Durant. Like he wants that matchup. He wants to take on the best player each and every night. And he gives the Pistons a very good chance to win each and every basketball game when he's facilitating, when he's scoring the basketball. But the fact that we're coming up here and saying it wasn't the best night for Cade Cunningham and he almost had a triple-double, that just kind of shows you the evolution of his game through this season. Like, you could debate, is Cade Cunningham a top 25 player in the NBA right now? Like, I think he's starting to enter that conversation. He's had really good games against like the Tyrese Halliburtons, the Jalen Brunsons, Kevin Durant, had a good game against LeBron James. Like, 20-10-5. Obviously, the shooting percentages aren't the best, but he still hooped, like you had mentioned, Day. Paul Reed shows how good this team could be with a defensive stretch five. This comment comes from Michigan Mate. I've been like really, really impressed with Paul Reed, and that's why I had asked when we had Zark on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, like, why isn't Paul Reed getting playing time? Because I know he's a good basketball player. You guys probably saw it. Anthony Davis did not like Paul Reed guarding him tightly. AD pushed him, and he got attacked. Like, Paul Reed did his thing, like rebounding. Defensively, I think he makes some good plays. He's also a player that can make good reads, processing. Like, he had a pass to Simone Fontecchio, and Simone cut and scored the basketball. Like, I think Paul Reed definitely is going to be in the conversation, and JB is going to have some tough decisions to make when Isaiah Stewart does come back, because Paul Reed's been giving you really good minutes since he's been out with that injury. I'm really curious to see what happens. I hope he just doesn't go back to the bench and he's a third string center and you only play him in case you need him, because the effort that he's shown since Stu has been out, like, I love it. I love what I'm seeing out of Paul Reed, and he re-signed with the Detroit Pistons on a minimum. Like, he could have just told the Pistons, like, hey, I don't want to be here. Like, just waive me. I'm going to go sign with a contender. But he decided to come back to the Detroit Pistons and sign for a minimum. And he's just been balling, man. I love it. Cliff has a comment about Tobias. It says, when Tobias scored, I'm relieved and shocked. Yeah, like, some of the corner threes with Tobias, Cliff, like, I'm just like looking at my TV. I'm like, please score. Please score. And it's just like, I feel like corner threes this year have been his kryptonite. I don't have the numbers pulled up in front of me, but when you do get Tobias to score, it's a plus. I can't pull up the box score as I'm talking to you guys right now. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. Hold on 1 second, because I do have it. So Tobias Harris had 6 points on 3 out of 10 shooting. Like, that's just a rough night. Like, if Tobias can give me a good 12 to 15, I'm okay with it. Still grabbed 1 rebound and 4 assists. He just had a really bad night. Tim Hardaway Jr. did step up. He had 15 points, 2 out of 5 from 3, 5 out of 8 from the field. Jaden Ivey had 18 points on 15 shot attempts. Fontecchio had 13 points, didn't miss a shot. Ron Holland had 10 points off the bench, and Malik Beasley had 21 points off the bench. Like, it was just kind of like a really balanced scoring game. And I think when we talk about the Detroit Pistons so much on this podcast, like, a lot of people are talking about, like, go get that star, go get the Levine, go get the Ingram. Like, I'd rather have a bench that I can rely on to get us back into games and score, points in bunches. Obviously, those stars would probably be nice to have. Like, Levine would be nice to have. Ingram would be nice to have. But, like, you never really know how they're going to mesh. If you kind of look at just all our Detroit Pistons teams that have won championships, we've had balanced scoring. We haven't really had a quote-unquote superstar on our roster. And, Cade's our superstar. And he just makes everyone around the team better. But if you get some points out of Tobias at the end of the day, it's a positive. He's just struggling right now. I did see that he did grab his thumb again. I don't know if he re-injured it. He did sprain it, but I'm hoping Tobias can, go on a heater a little bit and get a little bit more consistent this season. But I do want to get into more comments and questions with you guys. I'm just scrolling through them right now. We have one from Dante. He says, I give Duran a bit of a break because he's always struggled against AD. I'm very happy he made all his free throws. Honestly, I think we made all our free throws. I could look. I know Duran did make a majority of his free throws. So you were right. 12 out of 12 from the line. Lakers were 20 out of 25. Duran had an okay game, hit 6 points, 1 out of 2 from the field, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. I thought the rebounding down the stretch was really crucial for Jalen Duran. Obviously, 6 points, you'd like a little bit more out of your starting center, but I'm not really going to nitpick too much with this win tonight. Question from Australia. Shout out. Duran's been taking all this heat rightfully. His erratic play, but when we can have the Tobias chat, is he gonna keep bricking shots? Why not close with Asar and Ron? This question comes from RVK11. Shout out to you, man. So I think you're right in terms of like a lot of fans have been on Duran's ass all season. And like you said, rightfully so. Like the effort at times this season has been not the best. But I get where you're coming from with Tobias. Like, you pay Tobias to come here to be that veteran. Hit 6 points tonight. You need a little bit more out of him because you expect Tobias to at least get you a 12 points bare minimum at the end of the day. But when he's not hitting shots, he's still finding other ways to impact the basketball game. Like, I think his rebounding this year has been really kind of undervalued. I would like to see the team kind of go away from the post-ups when he's not feeling it. I feel like sometimes we're force-feeding Tobias just to try to get him going. Like, if he's not hitting his shots and you're force-feeding him in the post, it's just a bad possession, in my opinion. I felt like they did that a lot in Phoenix when they were going up against Ryan Dunn because they were trying to go with the mismatch. It just wasn't a mismatch because Ryan Dunn was defending him really well. I thought they did it a little bit tonight, but not as much as they did in the Phoenix game where they're trying to feature him in the right side of the basketball court in the post. And, he did make a couple of shots here and there, but I feel like at times this season, we're just trying to force feed him to get him in rhythm. And at the end of the day, Tobias Harris is a rhythm shooter. He needs a lot of attempts to get going. He's not just like a Malik Beasley, come into the game and give you instant offense. At the end of the day, if you've watched Tobias Harris throughout his career, his first stint in Detroit, even when he was in Orlando, he's always kind of been a rhythm shooter. But to answer your question, why not close with the Asar and Ron? Probably because you want a veteran out there at the end of the day. Like, Asar, still very young. Ron's a rookie. You probably want as much grown-ups out there at the end of the day, but maybe eventually JB does close with a Ron Holland or an Asar Thompson. But to answer your question, I think that Tobias is struggling offensively, but overall, he does help the team in ways that might not show up on the box score. He does all the little things really well, but I would like to see the forced post ups kind of stop a little bit. Want to get to this comment. I know Bryce mentioned on the Pistons pulse, but what do you think about sitting Duran for a few games, starting Reed when Stu comes back? Shout out to Bryce. Bryce is very intelligent. I had him on the podcast this summer. I wouldn't be opposed to it, maybe for a game or two, just to kind of see like what it looks like. And I know a lot of people get on Duran, but Paul Reed has shown you he's a good backup, a good caliber backup. Isaiah Stewart has shown us this year, good rim protector, good backup. I don't know if they'll actually do it. I wouldn't be opposed to it if you just kind of want to see what a Stu and Paul Reed, tandem would look like at your center position. But I just don't think the Pistons do it personally. I think they're going to continue to start Duran through the season, unless he has an injury, and then you can kind of see like what a Stu and Paul Reed like lineup would look like, whether it's Reed starting, whether it's Stu starting, or Paul Reed coming off the bench or Stu coming off the bench. I just don't think they do it, but I could kind of see like where Bryce is coming from because you kind of want to see like what they would look like. I know. I was talking to a good friend of the show, Corey Woods. He basically said like he would probably do that as well, and he said that like in October. Like it was pretty early to just like a Stu and Paul Reed lineup. I want to get to a couple more questions in comments. with you guys. And this comes from Mr. My City. I really like Reed's energy. Yeah, same here. Like that's why I was so high on him when we signed him this summer. I thought he could come in. I didn't think they would kind of treat him like a third string center. I was kind of surprised when they did, but I don't know. Like I guess it's a coaching decision at the end of the day. But I think overall, like JB's got to do what's best for the team. But I think you're seeing like Paul Reed deserves to get minutes. He deserves to at least get rotational minutes. Like I would hate to see him just go back to the bench when Stu comes back and act like all these games that he's given us just doesn't mean anything. Like I think he deserves to um, play. Got a comment from Mr. Wright. Does Clipman still travel with the team? He was actually with the team and he was available tonight. We didn't actually even talk about this. I probably should have talked about this earlier, but Bobby Clipman is cleared. He played with the Motor City Cruise in the G League Showcase, got some minutes. Bobby Clipman will probably make his debut this week, I assume. If there's foul trouble, if there's an injury, but he is available on the bench. He's 100% healthy. The Pistons cleared him. So Bobby Clipman will probably make his debut, I would assume, at least this week. If there's garbage time or there's foul trouble with Simone or Tobias or there's an injury, Pistons put it out earlier that he was available to play. So Clipman's ready. Clipman's ready. I think so. I think Bobby's ready. I don't know if anyone posted that. I'm pretty sure I posted that on Twitter. If you guys do follow me on there, Jay Hart, could you see Chris Paul on this team next year? Interested to see him back up, be another voice for Cade. I was all on the Chris Paul bandwagon, Jay Hart, a few years ago. Feels like CP might just retire a Spur. He said he only wants to play a few more years. I don't really know if the Pistons would be interested in it, but like to your point, yeah, he would be a great veteran for Cade, a great voice for Cade. And that's a guy that's been around the league, one of the best point guards in the NBA. Still, it is still, for the age that he is, but like I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just don't know what the interest is from Detroit side, but I know us fans would probably be pretty interested in a CP3. Ryan P. I wanted Bobby to steal minutes from Tobias, but JB is stingy, is F giving minutes to other guys outside the primary 8 to 9 guys. LOL. Yeah, he is. I think he's not a perfect coach, and I don't expect him to be a perfect coach. Like all coaches have their flaws, and he's one of those coaches that really leans with his veterans. But I think Bobby will play. He's cleared. He's available. You guys can go on the Pistons official Twitter on their injury report. He was available. He was available to play tonight if JB did decide to play him. He got a DMP, coach's decision, but it's good news that he's 100% healthy, and that's another player that could play some power forward minutes for you. I mean, we saw him in the summer league hitting threes, passing. I mean, I talked to his trainer. If you guys did watch that podcast, talked to him recently. Like said, Bobby's ready to go. Bobby's he's good to go, and I'm really excited to see him play. Great news. Really excited to see how Bobby fits on this team. Yeah, same here, Drew. Same here. I think he's a guy that a lot of us were very intrigued with after summer league of like what the possible rotation was going to be, and then the calf thing happened, and then like the clarity from the medical team wasn't the best. But hey, man, we're in December 24th. He's back. Maybe you see him in the Sacramento game. Maybe you see him in the Denver game. You never really know. Another body, another player that can facilitate, shoot, defend a little bit, but really excited that he's available to play. But I do want to wrap this podcast up. You guys have been on for 30 minutes. It is almost 2 a.m. I love that we got 130 people in the chat right now. Hope you guys are just, enjoying your holidays. Hope you have work off. You don't have to work on Christmas Eve. But I will see you guys immediately after the Sacramento Kings game, and it's probably going to be another late podcast, but hoping we get a Pistons win. Have a good night, you guys. Peace.